Okay, so today is our 5th class, and I'd like to welcome you guys all to our class on theories of language learning, behaviorism, unitism, and interactionism. Well, as you could know, in our previous class, I have said these things in a very brief or in a very short form, but as I went home in the previous day, so I think you guys should have known these things in a more elaborative way. You guys should have known that in very, elaborative way, so that you can know these things very better, even if you do not go for the books, go to the books. Still, I should provide something so that you guys can write in the finals or in the midterms from these slides also. So basically today's slide or today's class is the more elaboration on our previous class. Okay, this is not a new topic, this is the previous topic, but in a more elaborative way. Is that clear, everyone? Okay, so let's begin. So theories of language learning today we'll be talking about, and today we'll be talking about three more important theories, three most important theories. Number 1, behaviorism, number 2, innatism, and number 3, interactionism. Today's class is very important. Please be with me with your proper mind. So let's see what's happened here. Introduction to language learning theories. Language learning theories constitute the, oh yes, it could be seen now. Language learning theories constitute the bedrock of applied linguistics, offering critical insights into how humans acquire language. Both first and second, the presentation explore three seminal perspective. Well, three seminal perspective means 3 theories. You do not have to write that down, just understand what is going on. Okay, behaviorism, innatism, and interactionism. Yes, today we'll be talking about these 3 theories in a very elaborative way. So behaviorism, we all know that behaviorism is language as learned behavior. Language which learn as behavior. Okay, number 2, innatism. Innatism, language as an innate biological faculty. By maybe Noam Chomsky, maybe? Yes, nativist or innatist, that's right. Okay, and then the interactionism, language as socially mediated development. These paradigms informs educational practices, second language pedagogy, and our understanding of linguistic competence and performance. They also shape curriculum design. Well, underline, write that down. Interactionism, please write that down. And underline curriculum design. Where it is? Yes, curriculum design. Teaching methods are not very important for you guys. And assessment protocols. Assessment protocols mean testing and evaluation. Okay, you guys know that, testing and evaluation. Oh, sorry, you guys should maybe did not done that course now. So please write that down. Interactionism. They also shape curriculum design and underline curriculum design. Please write that down. This is very important for your midterms. Language as socially mediated development. Socially mediated development. Okay, I'm making you write that because this is important for your midterm. Interactionism and its elaboration. What does interactionism mean? This is the definition. If the definition of interactionism come, please write these down on your midterm scripts. Okay, done? Hey, what is it? No. Okay, so let's go to the next topic, the next slide. The historical overview of language acquisition theories. So, if I say, you do not have to write that, but please, if I say, please write down the history of language acquisition theories. So you have to write that down, accordingly. First thing first, last thing last. Clear? Yes, sir. I am saying if I ask in your midterm question paper that please write down the brief history of language acquisition theories, the history of language acquisition theories, then you have to write that down accordingly. Is that clear? Great. So do not write that down, or you do not have to write that down, just understand. So pre-1950s, 1950s means is the year of 1950s, that means before the Second World War mostly. Okay, behaviorist and structuralist approaches dominated, viewing language as a set of habits developed through conditioning. Well, before 1950s, basically behaviorist and structuralist, maybe Ferdinand de Saussure. Have you heard the name? Ferdinand de Saussure. He's a structuralist. He said that language should be learned in a structure. That means the structure of syntax, definitely subject, verb, object in English. In Bengali, subject, object, verb. So these things. Okay, so pre-1950s, behaviorist and structuralist. So please ask the ChatGPT or Google that name some of the behaviorists of language acquisition and name some of the structuralist. Behaviorist, we already know that B.F. Skinner, maybe. Okay, but structuralist, Ferdinand de Saussure and many more. Please write those down on your midterm scripts. It's not in here, but I want you to write that down in your midterm scripts. Clear? Great. So in 1957, B.F. Skinner's verbal behavior formalized the behaviorist position. Okay, so basically in 1957, B.F. Skinner have said verbal behavior formalize. Okay, the verbal behavior formation. In 1965, Noam Chomsky's Aspects of Theory of Syntax. This is the book by Noam Chomsky, and it has been published on 1965. Noam Chomsky has said critics behaviorism, unsharing the cognitive revolution on the rise of innatism. That means before 1965, everyone thought that language should be learned in a behaviorist way, but afterwards, pause it. So before 1965, so before 1965, everyone thought that only behaviorist way should be useful for language learning or language acquisition. But in 1965, Noam Chomsky have introduced his book, Aspect of Theory of Syntax Critics. Syntax, syntax, that means structure, sentence structure, the structuralist viewpoint. Okay, so but he then said, okay, it's not necessary that in order to learn a language, we have to be in the language. Rather, we could create a language. UG principles, LAD, language acquisition device. You guys know that. Okay, so in 1970s and 80s, Vygotsky's sociocultural theory gained prominence, leading to constructivist approaches in interactionism. Well, 1970s and 80s, they started thinking that, via interaction, we can also learn a new language. Okay, and then nowadays, that means present day, integrated and interdisciplinary approaches recognizing the role of affect, cognition, biology, and social context. Okay, so basically nowadays we combine everything. We combine from behaviorism to structuralism and innatism, then interactionism. We combine everything so that we can make our students learn any language or acquire any language very better. Okay, hey, give them, come on. It's not supposed to be in there. Okay, hey everyone, the history of language acquisition theories is very important. If not midterm, then definitely in finals. Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay. So behaviorism, let's talk about behaviorism. Hey, what happened? Okay. So let's talk about behaviorism. We already have talked about that in previous class, but today we will be doing that more of an elaborative way so that you could learn it better. Okay, behaviorism rooted in empiricism. Empiricism, what does that mean? Empirical or empiricism. That means proven without examining. Proven without examining. Now, I mean more of a universal. The sun rises on the east. More of a universal, huh? Okay. Behaviorism rooted in empiricism and scientific method sees language as behavior shaped by external stimuli and reinforcement, according to B.F. Skinner. Yes, not only Skinner, B.F. Skinner, please, okay? You do not have to write those down, just understand, because you guys know these things already. Just understand. Language is acquired through interaction with the environment. Interaction with the environment, mostly from the very early childhood, from our lifespan, okay? That means environment means our family environment maybe, okay? Or the classroom environment could also be added. Okay, so reinforcement strengthens behavior. Lack of reinforcement leads to extinction. Reinforcement means, yes, we have to reinforce. We have to reinforce what is happening. Oh my goodness, this is very much sound. I mean, noise pollution is happening. Okay, so reinforcement strengthens behavior. Lack of reinforcement leads to extinction. That means if we reinforce any language, if we reinforce any language, that will stay. If we do not reinforce anything, that will blow away, gone away, extinct. That's right. Okay, mental states are not necessary to explain learning process. This view aligns with empirical psychology and emphasizes observable behavior. Please, this is very important. This is empirical psychology. Empirical psychology, because it is proven without examining, because we can never examine a baby, I mean how he is acquiring a language, because this does happen, this takes place in our very early childhood. Okay, Imon, go to the last bench and say if you see anything. Keep us posted, huh? Yeah. So one eye should be there and another eye should be outside. Okay. So mental states are not necessary to explain learning process, because we can never explain children's mental state. Okay? We can never examine. We can examine mental state of an adult or of a mature child, okay, but not that early child, infancy. We cannot state that. So this is the main core theoretical foundation, in which theory they basically laid their foundation, behaviorism. Okay, basically it's empirical psychology. That means, yes, from our father and mother we can definitely learn a language. Definitely, from schools we can learn language, from playgrounds we can learn language. So basically this is very empirical psychology. That means psychology which is very much empirical, and it has came from that particular way. Okay, key concepts of behaviors and its mechanism: imitation, reinforcement, classical conditioning and operating conditioning. Well, we do know those things. Okay, imitation language acquisition begins by mimicking adult speech. Definitely. Very early childhood, we used to hear, we used to listen to our parents' voice, and then we try to mimic them. If they say chocolate, then we try to say that thing in a very exact way, chocolate. But even if we fail, still we try to mimic. Mimic means copy. Thank you. Okay, reinforcement. Imitation basically stimuli. Imitation is, and reinforcement is responses that produce a desirable effect are repeated. It's not chocolate, it's not chocolat, it's chocolate. It's not chocolat, it's chocolate. See, this kind of reinforcement we give to the children, so that they could learn the word very in exact way. Clear? Is that clear? Yes. Thank you. Okay, and two conditioning, classical conditioning and operant conditioning. Well, these were, I actually gave them classical conditioning and operant conditioning in the previous year's midterm exam, so I should not be putting these things in this year. But still, in order to learn, I would really appreciate if you learn that. Classical conditioning is learning by association, bell ringing paired with food. Operant conditioning, learning by consequences, reward or punishment. Classical conditioning is learning by association. That means bell ringing. Okay, so it's ringing a bell. That means you are doing it correct. Okay, or it stopped ringing. That means you are doing it incorrect. It's classical conditioning. And operant conditioning, basically the punishments or the prizes. Yes, this is very, easier one I gave in the previous previous semester's midterm. Okay, for example, a child says juice. Well, they in the book they said milk, but I said juice. Juice is very much of a children thing, huh? Okay, if a child says juice and receives the drink, this positive outcomes increases the likelihood of repeating the word. So if he said juice, he get juice, then he would, he will repeat that very particular thing so that he could get more juice. Correct? Okay, behaviorism applied in the classroom. How behaviorism applied in the classroom? Let's see. In drills, choral repetition, immediate correction. Okay, drills. Students repeatedly practice structures. This is a pen, this is a pen, that is a book, that is a book. We know those drills, huh? In our schools also, we get through by those drills. This is a book, this is a pen, this is a door. He is a boy, she is a girl. In order to differentiate between he and she, those pronouns, so we used to drill. He is a boy, he is a boy, and then she is a girl, she is a girl. Just like that, drills. Drills means practices. Drills means? Practice. Right. Choral repetition, whole class mimicry of teachers' model structures. That means if I say behaviorism is from empirical psychology. If everyone says that, then basically, yes, this is the basically mimicry things happening so that we could learn, we could basically memorize those things. So we could basically memorize those things, Good. Okay. A teacher models, he goes to school, student repeat the phrase 10 times, error are corrected on the spot. Hey, can you say, he goes to school? What error could be done in here by students? He go to school. Many of them could say, he go to school. But then we'll say, he goes to school, he goes to school. Then we'll repeat it in 10 times more. Then our correction will be done, our error should be gone. Then. Okay, but there are some limitations. So say, let's see what are the limitations. Rote learning without comprehension may hinder communicative competence. Yes, by learning language from behaviorism may create barrier for communicative competence. This is not very applicable for communicative competence approaches. Okay, this is not something which is modeled for gaining communicative competence. Okay, limitations and critics of behaviorism. Let's see. Creativity in language cannot explain how children create grammatically novel sentences. Definitely. Even if children could not heard that particular sentence or that particular way of talking, he or she could definitely be saying those particular things, because we have the UG principles and LAD. So this is one of the critics of behaviorism. Lack of creativity, okay? So it says our language has lack of creativity, but we do not have lack of creativity. We are creative enough so that we could deliver one sentence even if we do not know that thing very earlier. Okay, emphasis on environment downplays internal cognitive process. Yes, it says if you are in a good environment, your language learning could be better, but it does not recognize that yes, you have a cognition, and basically for your language learning speed will determined by your cognition, not basically by your environment. Is that clear? Okay, cognitive revolution. Chomsky argued that language learning requires mental grammar. We all know that. LAD, language acquisition. Okay, Gini and the case study. We all know that the case study of Gini. Okay, then innatism. The theoretical foundation of innatism is, innatism proposes that humans are genetically equipped with a faculty of language. Chomsky introduced the language acquisition device, LAD, and UG principles, some universal grammar, as the innate structures. Innate means inmate. Okay, enabling language development. Language input triggers the internal mechanism of our brain. Internal mechanism of our brain. So children are not merely passive recipients, they actively construct grammar. Yes, we already know that. They definitely actively construct grammar. How could you know that? By knowing Creole and Pidgin. We all know at least something about Pidginization and Creolization. Okay. So language learning is a species specific. Hey, this is the most important thing here. Species specific and biologically programmed. Species specific. That's why we could say we human only have language. Species. This is our species. Our human species have language. Cats, dogs, apes, no one maybe have human language. Huh? Whale. They have their medium of communication. Well, medium of communication is not language. Medium of communication is medium of communication. Okay, so species specific and biologically programmed, these are basically important here. You need not to write everything. Okay, constructs of innatism, LAD, UG principles, poverty of stimulus. Children acquire complex rules with insufficient input. Yes, this is very important. We already know those things, so we should not talk about that again. Poverty of stimulus. Children acquire complex rules with insufficient input. Yes, even if children does not have sufficient amount of input, they should be learning a language very much of a proper way. Okay, then critical period hypothesis, we already know that. And critical period hypothesis is by whom? Erich Lenneberg's critical period hypothesis. That's right. Optimal window for full language acquisition, puberty, or maybe before age 24, maybe. They have talked about that. So this is here. And examples and evidences for innatism. Okay, let's see. Overgeneralization. Children apply rules universally. Goad instead of went. Evidence of internal rule formation. Yes, because one student could see that if you want to say it in a past tense, you'd like to have an ed after the word. That means I played, I wanted, I skipped, I tried. That's, in this way, I goed. But it should be in I went. Well, it is overgeneralization. Okay, then Creole development. See, I've said that before. Creole development, the Creole language, Pidgin and Creole. Children convert Pidgin input to fully grammatical Creole languages, suggesting innate structuring. Well, English Creole language has Jamaica, Bahama, and Haiti has French Creole. So Haitian Creole is from the French language, the French Pidgin, and Jamaica, those Chris Gale and DJ Bravo's things. They basically use English, but their English is not like the British English or American English. They are the Creolized English. Yes, those black people English. Let's not be racial. Okay, home science system. Deaf children develop consistent grammatical science systems without exposure of formal language. Yes, yes. I want to eat, I want to sleep. They basically can do this kind of gesture even if before they have learned those things very formally. Okay. So, case of Nicaraguan Sign Language, spontaneously developed among children, rapidly evolving into a rule-governed language. Yes. Oh, she's here. Okay. So, Nicaraguan Sign Language, even before they're governed by the government, definitely, they form a rule here. The children have, a fully formed language was there by the children's behavior. Is that clear? So even if you do not have rules properly, you do not govern rules, still you could learn the language which has been said by innatists, especially Noam Chomsky, correct? Okay, limitations and critics of innatism. Yes, there are some limitations also and critics. Okay, unobservable critic, LAD and UG are hypothetical, lack direct neurological evidences. Yes, we say that language acquisition device is there, but this is only hypothesis. This is not a concrete, we do not have any concrete proof that yes, we have LAD and UG in this pattern here. Well, neurologists and the brain doctors can't find anything at there. So that's why this is basically a hypothesis, not a concrete evident proof. Okay, neglect of interaction does not sufficiently occur for the role of communicative interaction in social learning. Well, innatists lack social learning and the competency of our communication. Yes, we learn many things through communication. Innatists do not say that. So, cross-linguistic variation challenges the idea of a truly universal grammar. Well, cross-linguistic variation means every language has its own variation. Every language has its own variation, but UG principle is saying that all languages should have one variation, which is not definitely true. Okay? Alternative views, emergentist and connectionist models suggest that language can emerge from general cognitive abilities. Well, this is not very important for your midterm or for your understanding here also, but this is important. Cross-linguistic variation. They say that all languages should come in one particular pattern, but no, every language has its pattern in its own way. Done? Good. Okay, interactionism, theoretical foundation, the new thing, interactionism, and today's last topic. Okay, interactionism asserts that language acquisition results from interplay between innate capacities and social interaction. Yes, social interaction is the most important part here. Innate capacities and social interaction joins together to create interactionist theory. Done? That means there are some innate things. There should be some innate things in here also. Okay, the importance of context in meaning making is the core foundation here. Language as a mediating tool for thought. Mediating tool means medium of communication, maybe. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. It was really hard to find out that mediating means medium of communication. Thank you, Charlie. Okay, dialogue and interaction as a fundamental to learning knowledge is acquired through collaborative construction of knowledge is communicative things. Collaborative construction, collaboration means, hey, what does that mean, collaboration? Work of one or work of many? Many. Work of many, yes. Collaborative means many person would, do something, one thing to one person, another thing to another person, so that many person all together could construct or create one language by interaction. This is why basically, this is where the theoretical foundation of interactionism lies. Okay, let's see key constructs and examples. Zone of proximal development, ZPD. Yes, this is very important. Learning occurs in a gap between what a learner can do independently and what they can do with help. Zone of proximal development. Learning occurs in the gap between what a learner can do independently and what they can do with help. Okay. Oh, they're disturbing you maybe, huh? They're disturbing you. Okay, scaffolding. Temporary support provided by teacher or peer removed as competence increases. Well, we do scaffold students. We give scaffold students, but while learning. This is just like a building. Scaffolding, we know those things. Scaffolding, help, external help. We do provide external help to the students while they are learning this language, but we remove that support while they already learned. Okay, so negotiation of meaning. Learners clarify, reformulate, and confirm language in interaction. For examples, a teacher asks guiding questions during a storyline activity. See, if I say you the story of Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, then I would ask you some questions. Then while you are answering, I will guide you whether you are doing wrong in the grammar. Maybe you guys could say, Snow White goed to the dwarf's house. I would say, well, it's not goad. Snow White went to the dwarf's house. So this is how scaffolding works. Peer interaction in group work led to discovery. Correct sentence. Yes, maybe Iman and Riyadh could interact to one another, and then Iman does something wrong, and then Riyadh could correct him. Basically, that is how we learn language. We learn correct form of language. Done? Okay. Learners pauses, self-correct, and ask for clarification, demonstrating active engagement. Well, in a classroom, if I say, okay, so please tell us the summary of the story Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, and then Riyadh could raise his hand, and they start talking. Then while talking, he said, sir, Snow White in the dwarfs, there were 7 dwarfs, right, sir? I say, yes, right. So this is how he is making the clarification, whether the number of 7, whether the number less than 7 or more than 7. Okay? So this is how a teacher could scaffold, and I mean, a learner could learn from his own questions and clarifications. Is that clear to everyone? Self-correction, basically here. Ask for clarification from the teacher, definitely. Demonstrating active engagement. So by doing these things, we could say, yes, Riyadh is an active learner of this classroom. Okay, interactionism, educational application. How we apply these things in education. Okay, CLT, communicative language teaching. See, this is very important here. CLT, communicative language teaching. CLT, emphasis fluency over accuracy, meaning over form. That means whether you are speaking it correct or not, you are speaking truly. This is the way of teaching in CLT. Hey, for that, maybe Saifurs and those English teachers who wants to teach us English, spoken English, written English, they say, even if you can say, even if you cannot provide proper sentences, just say it. There's nothing wrong in the sentences. Every sentence is correct. Whether you could say, I go to school, yes, still you can say that. I mean, as far as it is creating a meaning, it is okay to deal with. Okay? So basically, communicative language teachers usually say these things. Even if you do not know much grammar, even if you do not know the correct order of producing sentences, you have to practice, you have to say that fluently. That means without hindering your voice, without creating a barrier from your speech or of your speech. Yes. so that after gaining fluency, you could polish your sentences, you could correct your grammar, but after gaining the fluency. So this is basically the communicative language teachers in the CLT methodist actually say this to us. Okay, and then TBLT, task-based learning or task-based language teaching. Real world task provided authentic language use opportunities. If I say, hey, write a paragraph, everyone write a paragraph about today's demonstration in front of our university campus. You could say that, yes, today I missed one bus, I missed two buses, and well, I went to the, I came to the classroom after some time, after 1 hour, after half an hour. Yes, we hate those kind of demonstration would be held inside of city in a busy day, in a working day. You could say that. So basically, this task will encounter you to the real world situation. This is how TBLT happens, task-based language teaching. Okay, role plays and dialogues. Yes, we could know that. This is very self-explanatory inside the classroom. We do role plays and we do dialogues so that our language enhance better. Okay, example activities. Students stimulate a job interview using target vocabulary, managing register, and applying real-time language negotiation. Yes, in the psychometric test, we do that basically. In the psychometric test, you guys actually, go through that. You guys, all of you guys go through that. Yes, went through that, I should say. You all guys went through that, and you guys will go through that again in this semester. So the benefits: develops pragmatic fluency and social linguistic competence. Yes, even if your language is not 100% accurate, you lack accuracy, but fluency is very important here as far as they're concerned in CLT. Okay, so this is very benefit. This is the very benefit that we could learn from interactionism. So CLT and TBLT emerges. CLT and TBLT emerges from which method, or from which principle? Interactionism. From interactionism, CLT and TBLT emerges. Please keep that in your mind. This is a very important question for your midterm. Well, from where CLT and TBLT occurs, and what is their theoretical framework? What is the theory behind CLT and TBLT? Any question could occur, and you will answer accordingly. Okay, so these are some reference books. I took help to make these slides. You could always check those things. And then the final thing here. Yay! Okay, so this